This is the all-new Brackett Show. Brackett Show. And now, here's Chris Brackett.
What's up, everybody? I'm Chris Brackett. This is the Brackett Show. Man, this is the second episode.
Yeah, number 2.
The dream is coming true. We felt the need to answer questions. We want to educate and entertain and everybody. And you're watching right now on either YouTube, Spotify, or really Apple Podcasts. So, you know, we're here for the people. We're here for the questions. We're here for the stories. And it doesn't get any better than that. You heard me say it before. Ain't nothing safe. Ask what you want. Call the landline. And oh my gosh, man. It's we finally got some rain. It was thunderstorming this morning when we woke up. Set the alarms early. Film a couple episodes a day and talk about what is happening in the whitetail woods, because guess what? It's like Christmas.
Yeah.
It's bow season.
I know. Yeah, tell me about it, because this is the first week, right? So,
Yep.
Yeah. What's it been like so far?
October 1 across the country is pretty much what I would call deer season, right? Like, so Ohio opened on like September 28th or whatnot, and Illinois is October 1, Iowa is October 1, and bow hunting, you know, whether you're hunting with a crossbow or you're hunting with a stick and a string or you're hunting with a compound, to me, it doesn't matter. To me, it's about early season stuff. And you get to experience a different part of hunting than going out whitetail deer hunting with a rifle or a shotgun, or, you know, it's a different experience. And whether crossbows or bows, and there's a giant controversy if you don't know. And, to me, it's about being out in that October, leaves changing, dealing with the thermals, all this stuff that we talked about on the last episode 1 with the thermals. This really wreaking havoc because of the system that came up through here with the hurricane. A lot of southeast winds. It's hot. It's probably the toughest time to hunt a really big deer, if that makes sense. Like a really big buck that you're after. They just got all the advantages, and they're big and fat and wearing a furry coat. And I think that's what we should talk about in the middle of the show today, is kind of what's happening in like my hunting life, and then you know, what I'm seeing out there, really. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I know, you know, we're filming this toward the end of the week here. It's been kind of a long week. I don't know about you, but I feel like I need a little wake-up call. What do you think?
Yeah, always need a wake-up call.
Wakey, wakey, wakey.
Wake up.
Hey, Chris, it's Mike. I am here in Farmington, Missouri, just south of St. Louis. I'm 58 years old. I've shot right-handed my whole life, and I've come into a situation where I lost vision in my right eye.
Oh, man.
What would your suggestion be to learn how to shoot left-handed? Because, boy, I just don't know if I can do it. I shoot a crossbow, so that's going to help out a little bit. But, yeah, that's my question. And thanks for everything you do, dude. It's awesome.
Oh, man, dude. Mike, first off, I can't imagine losing vision or even...
Seriously.
My right eye is super dominant. I can shoot with both eyes open when I shoot a gun or a bow. That right eye is so much more dominant for me. I can keep both eyes open. If I lost that or something happened to my right eye, I would be in a paralyzed situation as well. Like, what do I do? So first off, you know, guess we got to trust the process, and I have, in my experience, picked up a left-handed bow, just a regular compound bow, and kind of would see what it would be like for me to shoot that way. And so I have experienced that. I think a lot of it, if I had one thing to say, and I think that's what he's wanting, is the first place that I would start would be muscle memory, right? Do you think you could? You play the guitar, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Could you flip? Could you Jimi Hendrix it?
I mean, that would be amazing. I think So with guitar, I do enough stuff where I'm using both my hands all the time. And like I play piano and I play other instruments that I use both hands, that it would take a while. It would take a while for sure because like it's just muscle memory.
Well, that's what we tell Mike is, Mike, be patient with it. Trust the process,
Yeah.
right? Everything in life is the process. It's not the end. So like, Mike, if we got to look for some silver lining here, it's going to be on you get to relearn shooting again. That'd be the first big brother advice I would give Mike, right? Trust it. We're in with you. Like, this is a good experiment. I'd love to know how it turns out, how it progresses. So you think you could because you played piano and stuff?
I think that I could get there because here's the thing. It's not just about what your hands can do. It's about like what you know in your mind, right? And what you know in your eyes. And so like I would know what needs to happen. It would just take a while to get used to doing it the other way. And I would think that would probably be somewhat similar, for shooting a bow. It's like, it's not just about what your hands can do. It's about like knowing how you position your body and how you sight things up with your eye and stuff. So I would think that there'd be some overlap there.
The number one thing that I would tell you is it's going to be muscle memory. Since we were little kids playing cowboys and Indians and bad, cops and robbers and whatever, and every one of us had a perfect little stick that we would, go around. And so your whole life you've been using your right hand, and normally you're not like Kyle Schwarber where, he shot a bow right. I took him to kill his first deer. And the deal was that he could shoot a bow right-handed, but he actually bats left-handed. And so for him, there's a couple people like that can they're kind of back. I think Bryce Liberty's like that, one of my buddies. And the first thing that I would say was, if you could find a cheap bow or a crossbow, if you're going to hunt the crossbow, I think the first angle that I would take to mastering it would be, don't really worry about the eye so much. I would worry about the handling of the weapon. My hardest part would be if I had to do everything left eye and left hand, I would have to relearn it. Yeah. And so if I was to do that, I would just carry that crossbow around, carry that bow around, and get used to the handling of it. I think the eye will take over secondary, because it wasn't about what to see on the scope, or what to see on the peep sight and lining up the positioning on the pins. That's not the hard part. That makes sense in your brain. The hard part is getting used to old dog, new tricks, handling it. And maybe other listeners listening right now, you should try to shoot your buddy's left-hand bow. May happen to you, may have something or whatever like this. I have tried that before, and I shot pretty well. I just couldn't shoot as far away, as long as shots, but I could consistently do it at closer range. So I think the best thing is to get used to it. Go back to when you were a kid. Why does everything on this show, I always go back to like when I was 12 years old? I think if you go back to when you're 12 years old and you're relearning it, I think you get, kind of make up a stock, or, because like on a crossbow or a gun, you can get rid of the limbs and just have a stock and put a crossbow on it. And while you're sitting there watching TV, or while you're hanging out with your wife or whatever, she's probably gonna laugh at you anyways. You could just, practice that muscle memory to look through that. I think that's your angle. Trust it. Nobody's judging you. Don't let yourself be, fall into this, category where other people are going to judge you. It's about your journey, man, and we're behind you. I think you get something that has a scope, has a pin, and practice just rehandling it, bringing it, mounting it to your left side. I mean, that's all. Repetition.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that was our wake-up call. Who has brought us our wake-up call this morning?
The best coffee that I've ever had.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so my buddy Steve, he has Hunting Day Coffee Company, and everybody that I'm good friends with, they all send me like a secret DM on Insta or Facebook and go, "Is that coffee really that good?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's really that good." So they, he always wanted to get in the outdoor industry, give back, and he's got some good coffee, man. This one's like a Whiskey River blend. This is a new one, and that's who's bringing us our wake up call.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Hunting Day Coffee. And also that call is, you can also call us on the landline. What is the number to call for the landline?
309-761-LAND.
Yeah, so if you call that, we're going to be answering some other questions that are on the landline, but also we will pick one call per show that we'll have as the wake-up call, and also we want to be able to send you some coffee. So, yeah, please call in, and we'd love to answer your questions. Specifically, Chris, because we're both Chris. So one of us Chris will answer your question. Don't worry.
Absolutely. Well, I think a lot of people that are maybe just tuning in or finding us, I had a question on Facebook that was like, who's this guy? I literally had like, who's this guy and why should I listen to the Brackett Show? If you don't know who I am, that's okay. I'll forgive you. No, I have traveled across the world and chased my dreams. I've hunted everything, everywhere, and did it as a Bartonville, Illinois kid with nothing. I had a dream and a camera and a pickup truck, and I chased my dreams, and I won the biggest awards in outdoor television and all that. But more than that, I had some incredible adventures, and being able to have that knowledge, bring that back, and then do outdoor television for entertainment, but also for no one can ever take away what I accomplished. My own personal goals to hunt things and learn land and learn all these things. And that's what brings us now with the white beard, which is the knowledge and the desire for people to ask questions. From the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to bed, I find that there are people needing answers, needing inspiration, needing understanding in the outdoors, in land, in life, in whitetails, and bears and critters and archery. And so we decided to create the Brackett Show, which is tap the keg of knowledge and experience through messing up my whole life and then learning from that. And that's what the kingdom's about. That's what the gospel's about. It's about learning progressive sanctification and learning what the good book says and stuff. And so like it all goes hand in hand. Matthew planting seeds. Well, it just happens that in Matthew it talks about planting seeds and where those seeds falls and preparing the land. And that's exactly what I love doing more than anything, is planting seeds for my whitetails to grow them food so I can grow the herd and then go study them.
Yeah. You talked about like people getting to know us. And I think as they listen and watch, they'll be able to learn more and more, but to help people get to know us a little better, I wanted to start things out with what I'm calling, well, I don't know if you've ever done like 2 truths and a lie. So we're going to call it 2 truths and a whitetail.
I've actually never done that.
Okay, well, we're going to do that. Okay. So we're going to share 2 things that are true about us and 1 thing that's a lie, and then the other person's going to have to guess. So I'll go ahead and go first while you think about what you're going to say. As far as 2 truths and a lie.
I'm supposed to guess.
And you're supposed to guess.
Which one's the lie?
You're going to, here's what I think we'll do. We'll have you guess which one that you think is true, like, because there's 2 of them that are true. See if you can get one that's true, and then which one is false, or which one is not true. So I'm going to see if you can get one. I'm going to see if you can get them all right. But yeah, so okay, we're getting to know each other even better, but you know some things about me. You know that I'm a musician, and I've played a lot of shows and been able to travel around. So the first thing is that I got to share the stage with Willie Nelson. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that if you go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, you can find my name there. So I love baseball and played baseball like all my life. And so I'm in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And the third is that I was top of my class. I graduated valedictorian of my class. So played with Willie Nelson. I'm in the Baseball Hall of Fame, was valedictorian. What do you think is one of them that's true?
One of them that's true. Well, the one I know that's true is your name is in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Nice.
That's because we got the same friend. Yeah, shout out to Jim Tomey.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer. Went to Limestone High School, was one of my friends, one of those older guys you look up to, and you shot a documentary on him, right?
I did. There's a documentary called There Will Be Baseball, and it's about the oldest amateur baseball league in the country, which is the Peoria Sunday Morning League. So here in Peoria, Illinois, and the only league that's longer, you have the American League, the National League, and then you have the Peoria Sunday Morning League.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, it's crazy. It's been, at this point, it's been over 100 years. So... And
then we have lots of friends, Tommy Dunn. Like, there's so many people that's come up through that, and still play. They still play today.
Yeah. It's really, I mean, the level of competition is super high. I can't remember how many it is now. When we filmed the documentary, this is several years ago, there had been 46 guys that had also played pro. So there's really kind of a pipeline from the Peoria Sunday Morning League to Major League Baseball. And they continue. There have been several players that recently started playing in the majors that were in the Sunday Morning League. So anyway, that's a real cool thing. So that's one that is true. And you
shout out to Brad Meyer. I think he just retired from Sunday Morning League and won the home run derby, and then retired from Sunday Morning League.
That's awesome.
But shout out to the firemen out there doing their thing.
For sure. Okay, so what do you think is a whitetail?
Willie Nelson.
Hey, you're correct. You are the big winner. You're the big winner. So yeah, I have played with a lot of different artists, but while we've been in proximity of each other, we never actually have shared the stage.
He's on your bucket list.
Yeah, I mean, well, him and his son, but I mean they played at summer camp.
His son's almost more incredible.
It's crazy, yeah. So, but I have not had that opportunity. I was going through and I thought about listing different people I have played with, but then I was like, no. This is believable, but no, I have not played with Willie Nelson.
The only reason that I know that you were valedictorian was because you adjusted the camera 6 times before we started. Because you and the other person,
to detail.
You and the other person in the other room are attention to detail. I went 5 years of high school. You two were valedictorian of your of Bradley and your school. So
is that true about Jody?
Yeah, magna cum or summa cum. I always mess it up on purpose. It's I always say it's like magna cum laude. I don't even know what that is.
Well, that is in like university and college, like but
which is why I don't have a clue.
Well, okay. I don't know why that happened, but it must have agreed that you didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So go ahead. Why don't you share me your 2 truths and a whitetail?
Okay. I'm gonna stare right into the camera. And for all you guys listening, I'm staring right into the camera. Go to YouTube. Okay. Skydiving in New Zealand. Ooh. Hit by a logging truck in British Columbia and almost went over a giant cliff. And shot a world record mako shark with my bow.
Okay. So I believe that the mako shark is correct.
Yes. He's actually behind us.
I know, right? So it's sitting right behind you.
That was the easy one.
That's how I knew. Okay, and then let's see. So then, what's the lie? I am gonna say I think that the lie is that you have gone skydiving.
Yeah, I have never been skydiving.
Hey, all right. There we go. Now, don't you feel? I feel like we know each other so much better now.
Yeah.
Something. Okay.
I would have skydived. I wanted to forever. It just no opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I was telling people I do like to kind of thrill seek, but it's not always things like skydiving or bungee jumping. For me, it's like taking on big projects that I've never done before and doing something like new and creative. And so,
Yeah, we're totally opposite because mine is dropped off on an island hunting a grizzly bear with a bow.
Yeah.
And not being scared of the grizzly.
Well,
which is a fool's game because the first one I ever saw was the most unbelievable. What do they call that? Your spirit animal?
Okay, yeah.
Grizzly bear.
Yeah.
For sure. Didn't shoot one on purpose. Literally felt such a connection at 20 yards with a big brown bear. Actually, it was a big brown bear. I killed a grizzly, but these brown bears were fighting in front of me. And I literally didn't shoot this mature bear because I identified so much with this predator that he just literally wasn't scared of anything. It was incredible. One of the most incredible moments of my life.
That is amazing. And honestly, I can see that. I can see that for you. And I can understand you were saying like just that you couldn't shoot it because you just felt like you connected to it.
I felt so connected to these animals, the way they walked, the way they, I'll tell you what, I'm going to post a short of these bears fighting on the YouTube page. I have a video of 2 brother bears, 600-pound brown bears at under 20 yards, fighting just to fight because they're brothers. And I was so enthralled with watching them that my thirst for blood or hunting person just disappeared. And that's the only time that's ever happened. So, yeah, man, this is a cool little segment. I like it.
All right. So that has been Two Truths and a Whitetail. So, yeah, maybe if we have a guest in here, we can do the same thing with them.
That'd be
get
fun.
to know them better. So why don't we go ahead and get into some calls? Like we mentioned, we've had people calling in the show, which you could even do now. If you're watching this or listening to this and you're like, oh man, I got a question, you can call the landline, which is
309-761-LAND, LAND.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and start out with our first question. Well, actually, I guess this is technically our second question.
Technically the second one.
Technically, but yeah, here we go.
Hey, Chris, Mitch from Minnesota. I have a question about purchasing a farm. I'm interested in purchasing my first farm. Want to know what some simple rules of thumb would be, knowing that budget is going to be limited, but I do have some money to buy a farm. Just wondering the best way to get into something cost effectively, and what's a good starter size for a property somewhere in Minnesota, Wisconsin, maybe Illinois. Thanks.
Man, I love this question. My dream was land. It's why I live the land life. It's what I do. So thanks, Mitch, for calling in. I'm really thinking about this answer. So to me, the first thing that I'm going to identify, so I sell land in Illinois. I'm a broker with Herman Brothers Realty. So I own land and I sell land. So if you're looking for land, this question is what a client would come to me and say, I've got money in a 401k. I've got some investments. I've got my house, let's say I've got a good chunk of my house paid off. I'm at this point where I'm thinking about purchasing my first piece of land. And I was exactly in their shoes. After my career of traveling all over, I kind of got back to, how do I get my first piece of land? I always felt like I was behind. And I don't know why I felt like that. I felt like I had enough to buy a car. I had enough to buy a house. I just didn't feel like I had enough and didn't understand how to buy a first piece of land. So what I got to tell you is it can be 10 acres to buy your first one. Once you get into the land game and you understand with a really good realtor, the realtor or the real estate agent or broker that you are buying a farm with, that is, to me, one of the most important things. Find someone that specializes in what you're looking for. If you're looking for land to purchase to hunt, that Illinois broker or Wisconsin or Minnesota broker better know what he's talking about. If that guy doesn't walk out there and hug a tree and tell you that this piece of timber, this walnut or this white oak or this pine is worth $300 or $10,000 or whatever that piece of wood is, if he's not hugging the trees and making sure that he gives you a evaluation on the woods and timber, cuttable timber, marketable timber to get you to pay your taxes or first payment first year, if he's not doing that, get rid of him. Get a new one. You have to sign a buyer's agreement, and so you're going to try to find the greatest buying agent that you can, and run them through the ringer. If they know what they're talking about, they're going to talk to you about timber. They're going to talk to you about, can you put a pond on this property? They're not just going to talk to you about, well, this has got 20 acres of tillable, and this has got 5 acres of timber, and this has really good deer hunting. A guy that's doing his job, that does a job like me or my circle or my friends, I know the neighbors. I know that I'm going to be looking for a property for a guy that wants to grow whitetails, that on the east side has a great access. You're accessing it from the east, and the big timber or the swamps or the thickets are going to lay to the west of the property. And then you're going to have fields or little areas you can make food plots and fields. So you're going to be looking, 60 to 100 acres is just enough to make you mad. It's just enough to get everything that you want done on a piece of property. And that's going to kind of be your first, goal. Shoot for 60 to 100 acres. Try to get the timber or the thicket or where the deer are in the western side of your block of timber. try to enter it from the east, and you can always doctor up with miscanthus and switchgrass. You want the deer to hang out to the west and then go to the east, because you're going to be able to hunt them in the evening. It's much more enjoyable, and it's got a lot of resale because there's a lot you can do to it by listening to this podcast and by going to YouTube and then doing a consult on it. We can set that thing up to not only make your hunting awesome, but the resale of the property really, really great. So first thing, find an incredible broker that is an absolute savage and a Green Beret in land that knows what he's talking about. Don't just settle for Susie that sold you your last 3 houses. That's not the person, and you owe her nothing. You owe her nothing. Go find who is the best out there. 40 acres in Illinois is the greatest beginning 40-acre spot that you can have, because at 40 acres, you get a free deer tag, okay, free bow tag, free gun tag for whitetails, and a free turkey tag from the state. And then you don't have to purchase the expensive tags. That gets you your first little break. And if Wisconsin or Minnesota has that type of program, that's where you start looking. So if they got a 40 acres, that to 60 is just enough to kill a big deer, a doe, and a turkey off of and enjoy your property. And I actually have one right now for sale.
Oh, okay. That's a tease right there.
Mitch, if you want to buy one in Illinois, I have 61 acres of the greatest setup whitetail farm that I know of. And it's in Clinton. It's agent owned. I own it with my wife, and it is set up to the T. And we just have it. We're going to hunt it. We don't have to sell it, but man, it is one of the best farms. So if anyone ever wants to come take a tour and learn in person, you can get a hold of us at golandlife.com. I can do a consult over face-to-face on the, like Skype, and then walk you through and dive even more into the real estate game. And we'll find you, I can consult with you and find you the greatest agent in your area that I think is legit. So you don't have to take this upon yourself. That's what I do, is help people find the right people.
That's awesome. This is a similar question, but a little bit different. So here we go.
Hey, Chris. My name is Jeff from Michigan. I was wondering if you could talk about leasing hunting land. Me and my father were thinking about trying to get on a hunting lease, but we don't know anything about it and how it works and what we should look out for. Thank you.
I think on leasing, thanks for the call. I'm in the zone. I think on leasing, the biggest part about leasing for me is I classify it in 2 ways. So I'm going to take our hunting day coffee here, and there's 2 ways to look at this, right? When it comes to leasing, one, you're going to want to find the background of the property. If your goals and expectations are high-end whitetail deer, Michigan is one of those tougher states, but you can still get 4 or 5-year-old deer. Every year it's getting better with a little QDMA. And you're going to look at it 2 ways. For me to lease a piece of ground, I know that if I lease it, it's going to be me and maybe one of my friends that are close, that have the same expectations and goals for 5-year-old or older deer. Not necessarily, it's more age before beauty. They don't have to be a score monster. I don't care if he's a 160-inch 2-year-old, he's not getting shot. A lot of people, friends, would do that. So he said him and his father, in Michigan,
I think so,
him and his father. So they already have a bond. They've been hunting together their whole life. So if they were going to get into a lease, here's the 2 ways that I recommend doing it. Kind of giving away a secret of what I do, but it's okay. So if I'm leasing a piece of ground, I'm going to look at a piece of ground and say, this property of 60 to 100 acres holds 5 whitetail bucks and 1 mature 5-year-old deer. I'm going to judge the piece of property by how many mature whitetails that me and my father would shoot in our caller's case. And I would say, okay, I know that this property holds 1 that lives here that I would shoot. It's got 2 kind of tweeners that I would like to let live if I had a long-term lease. So option 1 is long-term lease. So you can let deer go to grow to the next. Finding out if you can leave crops or create food plots on that property. That's another important one. Feed the animals that are there. You're only helping the property value go up and the equity go up. So that's something good to explain to the landowner. And so what I'll do is if I find 100 acres or 60 acres, I am willing to pay around $3,500 to $5,000 to shoot that 5 or 6 or 7-year-old animal. That's an elite class animal. And then I just go, hey, I'll pay you the $3,500. And then I know that I'm going to try to only take one big buck off that property, or what's the value of it, right? So I think you go with what you're trying to get off the property and if it's going to be long-term. The other way to do it is $20 an acre, $40 an acre, depending on the acreage, depending on the timber to field, and then it just comes down to what you're willing to pay. So many people blow up like our state of Illinois. They're blowing up our state of Illinois because a farmer will say, hey, or a farmer or just a landowner will say, I've got 250 acres, 100 of it is a field, and you got these ditches, and people I know, friends from Mississippi or out east or whatever, they'll come in and the farmer will say it's $5,000 for the lease, and that guy goes, I'm a businessman, it's okay, I don't care about long term. I'm gonna go back home Mississippi or Pennsylvania, and I'm gonna sell 5 of my buddies for $1,000, and I'm gonna bring them all out, and all of them shoot a deer. While the one guy says I'm gonna hunt them late in the season, I'm gonna kill the biggest deer, and they kind of repeat that system. To me, I don't like that. And I don't really care if I offend people because I am a purist when it comes to growing the herd. And you may have neighbors that are like me and then have somebody lease it up and then they shoot 5, 6, 7 bucks that run through there and then on to the next lease. So I think you just got to come down to what you and your dad want to accomplish, be very truthful with it, write it down. And you're either going to kind of judge the price by what the mature buck numbers are on there or what you're willing to take, and get into a plan and be very, very transparent with the landowner and what your goals are, because you're going to build his equity the more deer you pass up, and maybe even help him out in the case of Michigan being Christmas trees and harvest damage and whatever, and shooting does. And yeah, and you're going to build the property for him, because one day he might sell it to you, or he might sell it to somebody else and sell it for more money. So he needs to understand that too. So I think it goes back to the leasing, knowing to build equity while harvesting whitetails that are your goals and executing that.
Yeah, I know last episode you talked about how like having your own land was always your dream.
Oh.
And so, I mean, I'm sure you can relate to these guys talking about land. Like that's something that you're so passionate about and something that you always dreamed about. But let's say once you have your land, then, talking about how you develop it and how, especially this season, are you going to see the deer that you want? So that kind of goes to the next question here.
Hey, Chris, Tim here over in Bismarck, Illinois, right on the Indiana-Illinois border. I don't know how much you hunt Indiana, but it seems like when we're over there, there's like 2 or 3 times as many deer as there is here. And it seems like EHD doesn't
100%.
hit there as much. Kind of wanting your idea on if Illinois should cut back tags or go to 1 buck. I know a lot of guys didn't like it. I didn't like it when they did it over there, but man, it seemed to produce a lot of monsters over there and a lot of big deer getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of want your idea on that, and then limiting doe tags over here, get this herd back up with the EHD hitting. I know I got hit pretty hard, for years now, and it's just not recovered. I think there's too many guys killing too many deer and stuff, so kind of get your idea on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the topography is number one when it comes to Indiana and Illinois. All right, so let me see if I can break this down, Indiana, Illinois. Indiana, except for smaller parts in the top of the state, and then a big area in the bottom of the state, you start getting into really rough country that can hold a lot of deer. But when you hold a lot of deer and you have EHD hit, it devastates the population. Let me go ahead and just figure out how to answer which one to answer first. I think the fact that Indiana has smaller wood lots. I would say 80% of the state has very small square wood lots of flatter ground than Illinois. It looks like the glaciers just came through and smoothed everything out. And every time I've ever hunted Illinois or done a consult in whenever I've ever hunted Indiana or drove through Indiana. I've been driving through it for years, and I've been doing consults in Indiana. It's a lot flatter ground than Illinois. I think your deer travel farther. I know that we used to have an ongoing joke that Indiana had less deer than Illinois, and I felt that the Indiana bucks could get bigger if they had one farm refuge to get away. I think they got some of the best genetics on the planet. I know that Illinois, with a 2-buck harvest, is a really what do you do about it? I know that if Illinois cut their doe tags and cut their buck tags, we would just be overrun with whitetails, and then the government would come in, and then the government would sharpshoot them like they're doing in the northern counties in Illinois. In the northern counties in Illinois, whether the herd's big or not, private land or government, they are sharpshooting them after the season over bait piles by contracted killers that are coming in to wipe out the population to try to keep the numbers down, because if the numbers are down, then there's less cases of CWD. That's like cutting off one leg and saying, well, now I don't have to pay as much for shoes. And so in Indiana, I think that they have, a problem with the EHD, just like we do in isolated areas in Illinois. And we, as a state of Illinois, have a brand new thing, and it'd be interesting to see if an Indiana was to do this. So you're going to have to find a conversion rate of each county having a person show up that is conscious of what's going on, and each county should be able to target how many does are harvested. We have in Illinois 4 or 5 counties that I know of now in central Illinois that have been wiped out so bad with EHD that they have put a no doe bow harvest in place. Now remember, this comes after as many does as you want to shoot for the last decade, maybe more. And so now they're finally putting things in place to go no does up until a certain time of the year. Also, in Tazewell County this year, one of my counties that I hunt in, actually live in, I couldn't buy a firearm or muzzleloader extra doe tag. So are they feeling the pressure of giving unlimited animals? I think you're right around the corner from what we're experiencing, but you got to have a voice. I think you live in a state where there's not as many. Illinois downstate has so many more people, I feel, than Indiana. I feel Indianapolis is, pretty liberal and not really into hunting, and the way it's getting bigger. And so I think as your counties or your groups of people, I think you have to kind of go to kind of whatever commissioner is in charge of having a voice at the state level, and you're going to have to just express some of this. And I wouldn't say do it in a rough way or whatever, but it's definitely going to be trying to educate them. Remember, biologists are more into studying the animal than rather keeping them alive. Remember that, right? Great biologists out there, but they are literally into studying them, not keeping them alive. And then hopefully after the study's done, then trying to keep them alive. So I think maybe you're a couple years from where we are, which is our biologists are finally, our state's flip-flopped, but downstate is finally limiting the amount of doe tags. And I think you guys are right behind that. I think it's going to take a little push of some mouths and some talking, and use that social media and do it nicely and do it educatingly. Try to get a couple of those biologists. But Northern Illinois, it's over. Nobody cares about Northern Illinois. They want to kill all the deer and keep the deer from 2 years old and under. And just thank the good Lord that you're not dealing with that yet. So thanks for the question.
All right, here's another one somewhat related here.
Hey, Chris and Chris. This is Luke. I'm from Central Illinois. I'm a huge fan. Love the new format. Chris has done some consulting work for me and has helped set up some of my property. And early season here, I'm getting a little concerned. Everything's set up good, and I'm just not seeing the deer like I'd like, specifically the bucks. Where are my bucks? Not seeing them on the cameras. I've been out glassing, just not there. The population just isn't where it's at, which obviously makes me concerned. Is it acorns, corn, beans? Just why aren't they there?
Standing
Second
crops.
question is what can you tell me about EHD? Is that a likely cause? Could that be here? That one actually makes me a little bit more nervous. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I'll hang up now, but I look forward to the answer. See you guys.
Luke. Yeah, Luke is one of my best buddies, and he has a property that's beautiful. It's a small property. It kind of goes back with the small property questions that we get a lot. It's a really small question, really small property. He's got a beautiful pond on it that's stocked, and Herman Brothers keeps it stocked, and it's got 3 feeders, and he's really growing this up. He's got a couple young boys and a daughter, and definitely a family setting that they had huge expectations for this property. And we've got the miscanthus in, we've got the alfalfa, we've got the beans, we've got everything. Now he's in an area that there's big timber to the south of him, right? And that's where the acorns are gonna come into play. Then he's got big ag to the north. So he's kind of at the area where the timber kind of meets the big ag. You need both. And so I think Luke right now is the, what do you call it? He is the norm. He is this is the main question of.
You're hearing this all the time.
This is a question 20 times a day, online, everywhere. Where are my deer? Opening day's here. I'm now in the woods. I'm not seeing the big bucks on my mock scrapes. I'm seeing the younger bucks. I'm seeing does and fawns. Here's how I'd answer this question. If you are expecting the deer to just be over and abundant on your property right now, deer in general and big bucks in general, you are in a phase right now that the first effect that I would say is standing crops and big bucks that are preparing for the epic once a year Coliseum battle royal, right? They do it once a year, breeding season, fighting, whatever. They are staying away from the nursery. Right. So you're seeing the alfalfa, you're seeing some of the greens, you're seeing some of the smaller properties that are micromanaged. You know what's going on there. You've got everything set up. It's a combination. One, a cornfield in his area or in Illinois could be 300 yards, 300 acres. There could be another 200 acre bean field that's got 4 grass waterways. That could be housing 3 or 4 mega giant whitetails, right? So I personally don't start freaking out until, like we talked about, I want a little bit of cold front, and I want to see this first full moon, this first harvest moon. The crops are coming out early. I would not freak yet, but if by October 16th you are not seeing bigger deer show up, I would start to freak out and look at that EHD about a bit. So here's the things why the deer are dispersed right now. And don't take this as go in the timber. I believe that the corn is up and so many big bucks are still living in the corn. Last night was sitting in front of one of our cameras and 2 big giant deer, 6-year-old and a 5-year-old, are laying in front of the camera in the food plot, and they laid there for 5 hours. They didn't do anything. They're fat, they're sassy, and they've probably been eating acorns somewhere near water. And the red acorn crop is more incredible than I've ever seen. And they're giant acorns, so it doesn't take a lot to fill them up. They're getting fat on acorns. They aren't hanging around the does and the fawns in the nursery. Does that make sense? Like if I'm the big buck, I don't have children, you have children. If I had a choice to come over and hang out at my house, isolated by myself with just me and my wife, or come over to your house and watch the kids, I could deal with my nephews maybe, or your kids. I could deal with them a little bit, but you're just not going to see that regularity, right?
Sure.
I'm going to be fun uncle for an hour maybe, but not camp out and go on vacation for a week. And I think that's happening a little bit, especially the bigger, older, mature deer. I think then once you establish, okay, the crops come off, they're going to come off by about the 16th to 18th in central Illinois. They're going to be out by Halloween. If these deer are not showing up by Halloween, once the corn and the beans are gone, and their stomachs have kind of gotten used to eating a lot of acorns, it's going to be really acidic in their stomach. They're going to need some greens. You might be in trouble. But I do know this about EHD. EHD is, I always mess up the name. It's like, I would completely butcher it, but look up EHD disease. It's a zoomatic something. It's a wild thing. It is spread by midges biting deer. I do not believe that it's just on dry years anymore because of the mud. Because I'm out in the middle of a field and I was bitten by midges last night. Doesn't affect humans, but I was bitten by hundreds and hundreds of midges last night while hunting near a water hole, and I watched deer go down and drink out of this water hole. There's no deer dead in the water hole. There were hundreds and thousands of midges biting me, these little no-see-um gnats. So you hear people say midges, but they're actually little no-see-um gnats that you can barely see, and they do bite humans. Well, those things, some of them have this disease, and there are 4 or 5 different, classifications of the virus that they spread, and they kill the whitetail deer within 48 hours if they're susceptible to the disease by being bit by the midges. Well, one thing I know, Luke, is if you go out to your property and you go drive around with your windows down in the whole mile or 2 block around your property, you're gonna smell if EHD hit. Anyone that really has ever dealt with EHD in one little area, like our caller from Indiana, you know it, because there are buzzards everywhere, but coyotes aren't eating them. The buzzards aren't really eating them. They're just laying there rotten. And there are, when you have one, you normally have about 40 or 50 within a half mile. Because they definitely contract it. And so you will smell it downwind. If you get a big consistent wind and you drive around and you can find a dead deer that's not a roadkill, you're going to be able to smell it in that mile block. And I think that's the only way that you can go out and determine. If you're not finding, like I talked to Austin Bennett yesterday, he's our fish master at the fisheries at Herman Brothers, and he said his neighbor was finding some, but he walked and walked and walked and didn't find any deer in the creeks or in the ponds around some of the areas. And so when you don't have that, I have to go back to standing corn, acorns, and then and just the fact that they don't want to be on these nurseries. But you're going to watch that change about the 14th, 15th, 16th. What happens is the big boys do what I call a bar crawl, and that's where they go. They just get on their feet. They feel driven to go find out all their cool haunts and areas and go get beer and wings and see who they got to fight this year and start doing their dominancy things. And that always happens that 14th, 15th, 16th when everybody else calls the October lull. Don't believe me about the October lull. It's not real. It has to do with most of my neighbors, like by my 100 acres and stuff. And they invade the woods. They hunt October mornings. They go in the woods hiking and enjoying their family. I'm not saying not to do that. But all these things start applying pressure and start moving these deer around where they go, the family's back on the property having their weenie roast or whatever, and those bucks are pushed off of properties, and next thing you know, they go to sanctuary properties like mine that I don't have any kids to go play trick or treat and ghost in the graveyard in the woods, and so they're going to come to that property who has all that food, and once they come there, they're not leaving. And so you have a lot of that moving around, but you'll look for that 14th, 15th, 16th. If you got a big deer that does show up at night, you're going to want to hunt them on that vampire full moon 15th, 16th, 17th of October. So hopefully that helps. I mean, his property is designed perfect. He does have a lot of little areas with water around, but if you're not smelling them while driving around with your windows down, it's not EHD. They'll be there. Yep.
Yeah, so I know this weekend I would anticipate there's probably going to be a lot of hunters that are going to be heading out. So as we kind of wrap up this episode, why don't you give us the lowdown for this weekend?
Yeah, we've got the Lowdown here, brought to you by the Lowdown high-speed trail camera viewer. I just talked to Al yesterday. They're out of Wausau, Wisconsin. This baby is like a 9-inch HD color touchscreen. I mean, it's touchscreen. You can download. I have it sitting right here on the desk. It's one of my coolest toys that I have in my truck, in my SUV. It comes with a little case. It's got SD cards that go in here. Lowdown high-speed viewer. I can take this save card at 128 gigs, put this baby in here. I'm going to run around to my Clinton farm. Well, I got rain today, so I might go down there this afternoon. I can grab all my cards, throw it in here, download my card, put this back in. I can format it from here, which gives me a lot faster execution on my cell cams and my regular cams by having the high-speed cards, but then I can also dump it here faster. And this is the Lowdown, man. It's a pretty cool little tool. If you're a landowner, if you're a lease owner, and you want to quick view your stuff, another cool thing is you can take that in your pack, grab your card, because realize that when, cell cameras are such a big deal now, they take a picture, they send it, George Jetson through the, whatever to your cell phone. But while that's happening, I set my camera on multi-burst. So while it's taking the picture, then sometimes takes about a minute to send it. It's taking more pictures. So I miss a lot of deer. So I like to go on rainy days, slip in, grab my cards, change them out or dump them on here to the bigger card, go up in my stand, and I can sit there or in a blind, sit there and watch and save my good ones and export my old ones. It's a pretty cool little tool, and Al's a great guy. And so the Lowdown for this week is opening day, opening week. It's fun to get out there, but do not overwear your welcome in your woods that you've been looking forward to all year long. One piece of advice from Uncle Bubby here is don't go into the woods and hunt the woods on October mornings. Do not do it. If you have to go, if most people just stayed on the outskirts of that woods and made sure that wind was blowing consistently, not blowing, like you'll look up, Chris, when they go to a wind app or a weather app, it'll be like, what's one of our famous little guys around here, Chuck Collins.
Oh, sure.
When old Chuck Collins says it's going to be a west wind, he's not risking his entire property and his hunting his hunting career on if it's a west wind.
Yeah, the stakes are a little bit lower for him.
A lot lower. He can be wrong. It's westerly. If it is 90% west and 10% sucking back into the east, your buck is going to come to my farm a mile away because I'm not going to be hunting. So unless that sucker is perfect, that wind is consistent, I don't hunt. That I might sit at my truck on a chair and glass with a Corona and sitting beside me and hanging out with my friend and watch from a distance, but I'm not going to be invading these things. And so if your goal is a big buck this year, if I had one big thing to tell you would be October, don't hunt in the mornings. Number 2, don't go too deep. Number 3 is make sure that your wind is consistent. If you want to step up your game, here's the most simple tactic, lowdown piece of advice that I can give you. Get you a fire pit at your house. Get you a fire pit at your hunting property. Get some nice little kindling and some sticks and whatever, and light a little baby fire an hour before you go hunting and watch how consistent that smoke is. It'll teach you thermals, and it'll teach you the consistency of that smoke. Like, remember when you were a little kid or campfire, it seemed like when you were a little kid, every time you sat in a different place around a campfire,
for sure,
the smoke would chase you.
Yeah.
If the smoke chases you, don't go hunting ever. Like, it's that simple, you know. And those are kind of my lowdown tips for the year, or for this first kind of week of October, the second week of October. I am really into getting my stuff prepared right now. I'm late to the game this year. I'm late to the game.
We've got a lot going on.
I'm late to the game. I don't have stands up, but one thing I do have is I have stands that have been sitting out either the last month or so, getting the stink off of them, getting the China smell of the creation of them off, the plastic smell, wherever they were made. They're just laying out in the weather. And then if I do go in and put them up, and when I do go and put them up, they're already kind of acclimated to nature and the nature smell out there. The other thing is that I kind of have everything waiting on go. The other day, Jody and myself went out and we put up trail cameras at the farm, and we used the cover of the combine, picking a 100-acre field next to us, the loud, the kind of reshifting of the water in a mud puddle, like you muddy the mud puddle. You could tell if your kids or a car drove up your driveway by the mud puddle being muddy because something disturbed it. Well, anytime you have a big combine or something changing the landscape of your area, that's a great time to go disturb your area at the same time, because they get confused by all the muddying of the water. And so you want to pay attention to those things to be able to go set a stand, call your buddy and say, hey, all the stands that were sitting out, they're a go time. The farmer's picking the corn next door, go in there. Oh, this is another great piece, another great lowdown is I'm a big fan of, if that farmer is picking that cornfield or picking, every farmer just went, oh, he said picking. Combining beans and combining corn.
Yeah, they're not kind of like walking through the field and picking them.
They yell at me. Royce just went, come on, Brackett.
I mean, I was judging you when you said that too. So.
Picking corn?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a sweet corn picker, man. I pick sweet corn. So when they're combining corn and them combines are running, them semis are out there, invade. Make your last minute scrapes. Make your last minute tweaks to your stand. Go cut limbs. Go muddy that water. Don't worry about what the weather is. Don't worry about the wind is. There's farmers all over. If that combine pulls in there, go in there and invade your place. Muddy the water while the farmers are muddying the water. And then by the time it settles, you're going to be good to go. You'll be good to go by the end of the month. The other part is that if you go sit in a stand off the edge of a field and the combine gets in there and starts combining corn or beans, don't freak out. Those deer love combines. They love the smell of combines or whatever. They're very curious. I've had some really big deer get killed. This has never happened to me, but a lot of deer get killed by pushing them around the corn and the deer kind of hanging around, and they're not going to leave very far as long as they hear that machinery moving, and it's been pretty deadly. You may be able to make a move on them and pushing them around that corn. I know late season in November when the bucks are with does in that corn, I've had people actually be able to stalk around the corn while it was combined and get one shot. So, yeah, man. Yeah, it's just a cool time of year. I'm just going to tell you to get ready for the full moon. And if you have questions about the full moon, please watch on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and go back to I have a land life podcast that I filmed that was a lot about the full moon and how they move 48 hours before the full moon. That's on the YouTube and the Spotify. But we also talked about it in episode 1 of the Brackett Show, which is how they move and do vampire walks before full moons, and what October full moon looks like.
Yeah, if you want, I mean, you gave kind of the full forecast for what the season's going to look like. So if people want to check that out, that's out there on episode 1 of the Brackett Show. But also, I mean, always feel free to call the landline. We've mentioned it several times, which is 309-761-LAND. That's 309-761-5263. We will listen to all those and then bring those
call
to the air.
all week.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Like this doesn't, when you hear this, I'll call later. There's not a specific time. You call whenever. You're sitting up late at night. You got a thought. Call in, ask that question. It's fun. We love to hear them, and it may turn into something more where we might have you call back or do an interactive live one day or whatever.
Yeah, and if it's something that you thought about, like a question that you thought about, probably someone else has too. So, I mean, make sure to call because you're not only going to help yourself, but you could help someone else out too.
Yep. I'd like to talk about white gold and what they've done for me over the last couple of years. I had a question this week that was like, why do you use white gold? And honestly, they're the freshest seed. Seed comes out of about 3 or 4 places in America. A lot of them are, anytime there comes to germination and seed and fresh and quality and coated and all of this stuff, you have to trust where your seed comes from. And over the years, I've watched the industry start with biologic and go through, and now every mom and pop and all these different places have seed. I found a place that has my blends that I want to use and the quality product and the freshest seed that gets mailed and shipped straight to your door, and that's white gold, right? So white gold deer feed, they've got feed minerals. This is Clover Rush. This is one of my favorites. If you're buying anything right now, getting ready for next year, you're going to want to look at Clover Rush. You're also going to want to look at Gold Strike. Those are 2 alfalfa clover blends that you're going to be putting out this March on top of the snow, frost seeding, and that's going to start and give you 6-7 years of some of the most incredible clover on the planet. And we teach you how to spray IMOX and teach you how to do things. And if you are wanting to know more about what I do and really where and how we fund what we do, Land Life is my company. Game Changers Land Management is my other company. All you need to remember is go Land Life. If you are looking for a consult, I book about 20 to 30 consults a year where I come to your property, I dive into your property, what you're trying to execute, or if you have a couple boys that are trying to just get on really nice 3.5-year-old deer and you want to continue that over and over and over and put deer on the wall. If you're looking to just have a better experience, I really think, and I've told Chris this before, I really think that the market and where the world is going with hunting is that whether you're hunting out of a saddle, whether you're hunting out of a lone wolf or a $100 ladder stand or expensive blind like the diamond blinds that I just had installed at my place, no matter which style of hunting that you're doing, you have this dream in your mind of what you want a big buck to do. You want him to walk down a beautiful green carpet and have it be a TV hunt. I think that's the dream for everybody. Does it have to be a 200-incher? Not for everyone. Most people just want to learn their property. They've taken it to the first level, which is we've had some good success with some good deer. We've done that for about 6 or 7 years. We've messed with some food plots, but never really any of them to Jim Thome style, hitting them out of the park every day. So that's where you call me. I go over your property, I look at it, and then I give you a price, and then that price takes you, and we line it up for beginning of the year, and then I come there, we spend time, we come back, I coach you through the year, I get you a plan, and we execute that plan over 1 year, 3 year, and 5 years, and that's what I love more than anything. Selling land and then developing land with consults that I come to your farm, and then I do online stuff, which is $350 an hour, consulting in anything in life, whitetails, land, life, screen share using Onyx, and I just love it. If you have any questions about that, Facebook, Chris Brackett's Land Life, Instagram, Chris Brackett's Land Life, and then the same on YouTube, Chris Brackett's Land Life. You can message me anywhere there. If you have any questions for Chris on production or, commercial stuff and like all the goodness. You want to create your own podcast, or you're looking for commercial stuff or whatever. 321 Studios right here in Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah, we can help you out. And make sure you got a great place to go and share content like Chris Brackett is sharing today and on this episode. And he's mentioned it. We've mentioned it. Call us, like and subscribe. We really would love to see you subscribe so that, first off, we know you're supporting the show, and also you'll get notified anytime we drop a new episode, which you're going to want to make sure you know. Stay up to date. And also watch. We want you to watch this because there's not only are we talking, you can listen on the podcast, but there's stuff to see. You can see the Lowdown viewfinder, see the coffee, see Chris demonstrating different things. So
Chris stays up all night long making sure this baby's perfect. So you got to go watch it on YouTube.
That's true. That's why we got to do our wake-up calls.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. And I think we're going to wrap this up. But Chris, anything else you want to share?
I just wanted to tell everybody out there, I got a new blind.
Oh.
These diamond blinds, man, are custom blinds. I had a question yesterday. It goes like, hey, I've seen you promote like 3 or 4 blinds. Listen, I've never been paid by a blind company. I love my blind turtles. I used to like the shadow hunters that had the big giant windows that were the older style. They got rid of them. I have a few of them. I still like them. Then I got into 360s. My buddy Tim Sisk sells those. And then I really like them. We got them all over. And then here comes this custom company where Joel is custom making these things. Chris, you and your wife and the little kids could literally have a camp out in the 8-footer.
We could live in it. It will just be like our new place to live.
You know what? They would probably float. Your brother could have made it out of the mountains.
Oh my goodness, we'll have
thing.
to talk about that next time.
Yeah, you guys. Hey, shout out to everybody down there, Nathan Lee and his crew doing the repairs on the power lines and stuff. Man, our hearts and prayers go out. Chris had an experience with his brother being down there and trapped, and our hearts just go out to you. Anything that you guys need. We're with you in prayer
for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Anything else I can do, I don't know, but I'll do whatever we need. But prayers to all those guys. I texted Nathan today and said, "You're a superhero. Keep getting up. Keep doing your thing." He's getting well paid, but at the same time, he is doing God's work down there, and there's a lot of people down there.
Dangerous work.
So appreciate Diamond Blinds for the cool experience I had. There's going to be more updates on that, but just really cool. We appreciate you guys. Go Land Life is the website, and then and go follow us on social media. Social.
Yeah, you could also follow us there, but probably social media.
But we appreciate you. Love you guys.